Well, good afternoon, everyone. And welcome back to our closing plenary session. If you take a minute to look around the room, in NACM conference terms, this is what we call our faithful remnant. And we appreciate you all coming back. I wanted to start off with this closing plenary just with a word of thanks to the Conference Development Committee. NACM has a Conference Development Committee that's very active throughout the year, and a lot of the work that went into this from our committee members, from our officers and board members on that committee, and with National Center staff that have been involved to bring you this, I'd just like to show them some appreciation for coming up with this theme of transformative governance and leadership and putting together an outstanding educational and social program for us. So let's give them a round of applause, please. For those of you that have attended NACM conferences in the past, you know that there's usually a couple of things, specific things that we reserve for this closing plenary session. And just so you can start thinking about them, in a few minutes, we're going to be asking for any ideas, suggestions, input that you might have, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you think would be helpful in the future, any ideas that we can put into the mill and think about as we go forward and plan future educational events for all of our membership. So we'll be asking you for some help with that. Because we don't have a roving mic at this point, just to capture your ideas, we may also ask some folks to come up to the microphone if you have some ideas so everybody can hear them as we go along. We'll also have an opportunity to share with you a little bit about future conference sites and what may be coming up down the line. But to start us off, before I ask our President-elect Pam Harris to come up and do that, I've been asked to share with you just for a couple of minutes a little information about the NACM National Agenda. I know that you've heard that term in some of your breakout sessions, and it probably is a new concept to some of you. Others might be very familiar with it, but the NACM National Agenda is something that was created originally almost 10 years ago by the Board of Directors, and it was intended to serve several different purposes. If you don't have one at your table, there were some brochures like this that were spread around, and if you can grab that if you want to take a look at it, or if you need more of it for future gatherings or meetings, we can probably help you out with that. But the national agenda, as you can see from the screen up here, has been described as a touchstone for NACM leadership nationwide in education, training, advocacy, and other work to support court managers as a profession. And we not only focus on that in the United States, but this national agenda has also spread through some of our international partners where we've got membership in several other countries around the world. So we're looking at ways to promote the administration of justice, and we realize that no organization, no association can do everything at once and do it well. So what we tried to do with the national agenda in putting this together is focus our attention and focus our resources. So we have 6 priorities that have been identified. And the way we have the national agenda set up, if you looked on your brochure, it indicates that it runs for a 5-year period. And we had one 5-year period prior to this one. But for this time and place, the Board of Directors felt that it was important to focus in on these 6 priorities, looking at case flow management improvements. Some of you might look at that and say, well, that's a no-brainer. That's what we do in the courts. That's what court management is about. It's about the appropriate movement of cases through the system, making sure that we're giving people good access to justice, and always looking at ways to improve those systems. But we try to build that into a lot of our educational programs, our publications, and otherwise. Sustaining excellence in difficult budget times is another one of those things where we've heard lots of talk over the last couple of days about us being in a time period of a new normal. And we all have to deal with budget reductions, unless, of course, you're from North Dakota, which I think was one of those two states that David mentioned this morning where they haven't had the same cutbacks, but who knows how long that will last. So that's something that we have to look at. We're always concerned about enhancing the public perceptions of courts and looking at community collaboration. That was a key point in some of the breakout sessions that I wandered through earlier today. Oftentimes it's thought that as a third branch of government, a lot of our inherent authority comes from how the public perceives us and whether they're willing, based on their trust and confidence in the court system, to carry out court orders. And to do it, I think Tom had mentioned this morning, he had been talking with folks from another country, and they were amazed that the courts could have their orders enforced without having an army standing behind the judges and enforcing and being ready to enforce those orders. Well, this public perception of the courts is a key piece of that. Looking at improved court leadership and governance. I'm not sure I need to say any more. We've been talking about that for the last 2 or 3 days. And it's a timely and important issue for all of us to be aware of. We're also, as leaders in the courts, required to prepare for and respond to trends. What's happening out there? What is going to happen in the community, in the nation, with the global economy? That's going to affect how we do business on a day-to-day basis. And that's part of what we try to do through NACM, is to watch for those trends, be aware of what's going on. A couple of small examples. You might have noticed that if you were able to join us for our last annual conference in Las Vegas, Nevada happens to be the state with the highest rate of foreclosures in the country. We specifically put some training in that conference to look at this foreclosure nightmare that a lot of courts are dealing with around the country. We've also looked strategically at immigration issues as that has come up. So we're constantly looking for ideas on how we can deal with these emerging trends that affect the courts and how we operate. And last on the list, but certainly not least, is this idea of promoting professional court management education. And there are different ways that we can do that, different ways that we can support our members in that. But fundamentally, when you take NACM and drill down to our core purposes, one of those has to be our ability to support professional court management education. Not all of us are going to be here forever. We have to make sure, if our courts are going to have a solid foundation, that we can train people, educate people, professionally develop that talent, and then manage that talent so we can move forward and know that we've got a fundamentally strong court system throughout the country. So that gives you a little idea of why these priorities were selected and why we're trying to move forward with them. They help us focus. They focus on the essential and interested parties. We try to align efforts to create some synergy as we're working on different projects, and activate all of these efforts for the betterment of our profession as judicial administrators and for the public. That's really where we're going with all of this. You know, the importance of it, and what we hope you will take away with you with the brochures or with other information that's on the NACM website, is that we hope these priorities reflect key needs in the judicial branch. If you think we've missed the boat on this, or if there are other issues that are coming up that are important, your board of directors needs to hear from you. Because as we move forward to 2015, and we may be looking at revising this national agenda, perhaps the priorities have changed. And we need to rely on all of you as you're spread out across the country to see what we can do there. We're also interested in innovation, see what we can do to spark that innovation, and again, to guide the courts to identify, discuss these challenges, look at helpful solutions, and overall, to improve the administration of justice. If you're interested at all in getting involved, I invite you, whenever you have an opportunity, to talk with one of our board members. They want to hear from you. You can always join a NACM committee. Just out of curiosity, with a show of hands, how many of you have been involved in the last year or two in one of our NACM committees? I'm just curious. So we have quite a few. If you look at those hands that are up, those of you that have not been involved, talk with someone. Get an idea of what it's like. But a lot of what we do to further the national agenda and the goals of NACM is through our committee work. So we encourage you to join. And we ask that you share it. If you can share this information with other judicial administrators in your state, at state conferences, anything along those lines, we encourage you to do that. If you want to have a NACM board member come out and meet with a group, we may be able to arrange that. We've done that in some states from time to time. We're always looking at creative ways to reach out and to make the association as relevant and as meaningful as possible to all of our members in every state. So anything you can do to help us with that, we'd very much appreciate. And that's a little bit about the national agenda. If you have any questions about it or if you have any comments about it, please feel free to corner me after this session, and I'd be more than happy to talk with you about it. And that's all I wanted to say there. At this point, I'd like to introduce Pam Harris, the President-elect of NACM, who's going to follow up from here.
Well, good afternoon. Was it any good? Was it? I mean, that... We certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. I would like to, first of all, apologize for one of our speakers that was not here. He came highly recommended to us from another association. I had the opportunity to see him speak at another association, and he was really fantastic. Technology. We had a little technology blip. He had just transferred all of his calendaring and other technology things to the cloud. And in doing so, lost some information. And so unfortunately, one of the things that he lost us. I was very upset, as you can imagine, and Dale Kasperick, who I will go into and thank in a moment, was much more kind and gentle with him this afternoon when we were talking than I was. I was very upset. But anyway, I hope that you were able to fill in some of the other workshops and that you found those workshops enjoyable as well. One of the things that I would like to do is take this opportunity to thank the National Center for State Court staff, beginning with Dale. Without Dale, we would not have a conference and such high-quality speakers that we did have here. So Dale, thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me out this week. I'd also like to thank, we have a whole crew of people that help this board at the center, and it's Val and Tony and Linda and Stacy. It goes on, and these people are dedicated every single day of the year helping this organization. So I would, if you would, really give these people a hand. And last, and certainly not the least, is are the Minnesota folks that attended, these first-time attendees that were here. We hope that you enjoy it. We hope that you will become active in NACM, as Kevin said. We have committee work. You will not be disappointed with friendships and professional and otherwise that you will gain over the years. It is really worthwhile to join this organization and participate in the committee work. I said earlier, and Sudasal said earlier, it's about being relevant and it's about staying relevant. And we hope we produced a relevant conference to you here today. But what we would like to do, and we do this every year, is we would like to hear from you what you think worked and what you think didn't work or what you think could be done better. David's got a walk-around mic, and we have some seasoned NACM attendees here that I know that we will hear from because they usually help us out with some little tidbits here and there. But we'd also like to hear from the new attendees, what you think we could do better, or what you think really worked well that you would like to see repeated. So if I can ask one of our seasoned attendees maybe to break the ice and give us some information, I'd appreciate it. Please. Really? Nothing. Well, that's a first that I've ever been to, where someone hasn't had something to say about what we've done. And if that's the case, I'm going to look at this as silence is golden. And Andra, there's one of our seasoned attendees.
I guess I have a question. I haven't made it to very many mid-annual conferences, so this is maybe my second or third one. I'm just curious, did you find the sessions lengthwise? Was it too long for you, or did you think that they were about the right length? I got a bit chair tired, maybe, I guess I'll. So I'm just curious as to how others feel about that.
Anyone?
Right behind you, David.
I liked the length, actually. I felt like you could go in a little bit deeper, and it offered the opportunity for a little bit more interaction in the sessions. So I personally appreciated that. The other thing is, I just like to say I appreciate that you're videotaping some of the sessions that we couldn't get to, and that we'll be able to access those in the materials on the website. That'll be helpful.
There are also other videos that are on the website from other conferences that you can enjoy. So please do go out and look at those videos. Anyone else?
Hey, got one over here.
I just felt yesterday afternoon like there was a big gap in the afternoon. I don't know if it was because of the vendor portion, but I enjoyed the breakout session. But then it seemed after that there was some period of time where we maybe had an hour before we started the last session of the day. It just seemed too long for me. It would have been either shorten the discussions, get another class in, or start that last class sooner and end the day a little bit sooner. That's.
I'll comment on that. We really owe a lot to our exhibitors. The funds that come from those individual companies are extraordinary. Last year in Baltimore, they asked that we not have any sessions during the exhibitor show. And the attendees there really said, you can't do that anymore, because it was a huge gap then between the exhibitor show and the last session. So this year I said, okay, let's try something else. Let's do the shared interest groups in those time periods. We'll try to take care of a little bit of it, and people can still get to see the exhibitor show. So I think we understand. We hear you loud and clear that you really want your educational sessions there. But we also hear our vendors and exhibitors and the need for them to contact all of us with their information. So if any of you were from Baltimore, I hope that you went to a shared interest group this afternoon. But we do. We understand where you're coming from on that. Anyone else? Okay, Val, let's show them what we can do. We just have some clips that we want to show you for our future conferences. We have one coming up in Orlando. We have one coming up in Los Angeles and one coming up in San Antonio. As you will see, sorry. That's the Orlando property. It's Disney. We are hoping that we're doing something a little bit different with our annual conference this year. Is we're trying to make it more family-oriented. Many years ago, NACM just got away from doing family-oriented conferences because some of our courts thought we were going on boondoggles with our families. And so we got away from trying to have family-oriented activities at our conferences because we want people attending the educational sessions. This year, since we're at the Orlando property and we have Disney there, we're hoping to put on some structured events for NACM families to go off and have some fun together while the parents are in working, or one of the parents is working in an educational session. So we hope you will you will look and see what we're going to be doing with the Orlando property and bring your families this year with you to the conference if you can come. We certainly hope you can come. And for the Minnesota folks, I will be writing Sue a letter hoping to push for you to come. But we do understand that you know, money's a little tight, but hopefully she will have seen some good things here at this conference and see that it's worth sending some or all of you to come to the Orlando conference. Pardon me? We also have a scholarship program that is going out very soon, so we will be offering scholarships to the Orlando conference site. It'll be posted on the web. An email will go out, and please do apply. We gave out almost 40 scholarships last year. We won't be giving out that many this year, but there will be quite a few scholarships given out. So please apply. I think you'll find it worthwhile. And now we're going to get into the 2013 conferences, and I'll hand the mic over to David.
Well, Val's showing up here, and while I talk and tell you a little bit about it, she's going to flip through the slides for the location of our 2013 conference. We're going to be in Los Angeles February 10th through 12th in 2013. We're just now beginning to put the educational program together for that. I encourage any of you that are interested in helping with that educational program to get involved in the Conference Development Committee. Beginning in a few weeks here in February, we'll begin to start talking about that process. At this point, there's no specific speakers or time slots and all of that completed, so it's a great time to get involved in the discussion about the 2013 conference. It's in downtown LA at the Westin Bonaventure Hotel, so we're pretty excited. It's the first mid-year conference NACM has held in California, so we're expecting a really large conference there, and we're real excited about it, so you might start making plans to look at that as well. And then we'll have Val flip over and show you the 2013 annual conference that's going to be held July 14th through 18th in San Antonio, Texas. We have a short video to show you.
What moves you? Visit San Antonio and be moved deep, deep in the heart.
So, got background music. So that's the location of our 2013 annual conference. We expect a good crowd there as well. So it's a ways off, but we can begin to think about that from here. That concludes the closing plenary. If you have anything to add, anything you maybe had about this conference that you weren't able to mention, please come up to any of the board members or and mention that to us. We'd love to have your feedback as we begin the process of planning next year's conference. Thank you all for being here, and have a good time, and hopefully we'll see you in Orlando or sometime along the way. Thanks.